How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be going over Xpev and TOPS, some of our top runners today, how you could have played them, where you could have played them. I'm going to be minimizing my use of indicators, times and sales, order, level 2, etc., volume, because I want to focus on just the naked chart itself, for beginner traders, support and resistance, retests, etc. Just for you guys to grab, the basics of it. Let's start off with Xpev. Began with this pre-market high, right? A very important resistance. Market open, we had already tested this resistance 3 times, so you should definitely have this line drawn out. That candle close above resistance was huge. We saw an incredible move all the way to 1038, just ripping through all psychological resist and other resistance as well. Ended up testing that 1040 level. That's where we saw a rejection came down. This is where we actually consolidated for the first time. Now, before I see consolidation, I don't want to touch it, right? I want to wait for it to come, settle down, provide me with support resistances. I want to switch up to other time frames just to have my levels drawn out so I can be prepared. We came down, we saw, it consolidate at that $10 psychological support area. I want to draw this line because next time it comes down to 10, that's where I want to be ready. I want to, I notice that this is a support, so I want to be, a present buyer when that happens. I want to be ready. We ended up testing that high of day, breaking through it, testing 1080, that's, 1090. That area is where we got our high of day. We rejected, came down. This is where we saw a bounce, right? So I also want to draw this line out for the next time that we come down to that 1040 area. I want to be a present buyer. I want to be ready. I want to have my line drawn out. So we saw a bounce. We saw, a nice uptrend. Eventually we broke that uptrend. And, if I was riding this, that's where I would have sold. That's where I would have taken my profit because we got a full candle close under this support. Came back down, tested that support once again, saw another bounce. So that's 2 bounces off this line right here. By the time the third one comes, that's where usually me personally, that's where I strike on the third one. And we saw a nice uptrend again. Eventually we broke that uptrend, right? So we're kind of seeing a pattern of it testing resistance, coming back down to support, testing resistance. Now it came back down to support. This was a perfect buy opportunity. Tested resistance once again and saw another new high of day as we've been seeing here, and it just consolidated into close. Now this was pretty much picture perfect because when we rejected this resistance, we came down to that support. So we saw pretty much a resistance test. So this looks like an accumulation pattern, right? We saw that resistance, support, resistance again, support, and then resistance again. That's 3 times. The third support test would have been the perfect one to strike on. That's Xpev for today. Beautiful runner, to be honest. Beautiful chart, trending all day. And yeah, a lot of different ways you can trade these, downtrend breaks, uptrend breaks, resistance breaks, support buy, just a ton of different ways. Personally, me, I love the uptrends and downtrend breaks. We don't see a lot of I didn't see a lot of downtrend breaks that we could have played on Xpev today, but a lot of times, on the day there are a good amount, and those for me personally is my favorite to trade, downtrend break. Let's move on to TOPS. Again, we saw this initial run up from all the way from 2.2 to 4.6, an insane run. And like I said before, I never play the initial run. I always want to wait for it to, give me some support, some resistances, some levels that I want prepared. We tested that 4.6, rejected that area, so I want to note that level as my resistance. Came back down and we started consolidating for a couple minutes, above 3.9. Eventually got that full candle close above 3.9, under 3.9, and started consolidating at that 3.65 level. And here, as you can see, again, we had that same type of pattern we noticed on Xpev where it would come down to support, test resistance, came down again, tested resistance, couldn't get over it, came back down to support, tested resistance, and this time it finally got over it. Now, the third time, which was this time, would have been again a perfect play. You enter at 3.65, sell at around 3.9. That's beautiful, 25-cent profit. And we actually ended up breaking this resistance, consolidating above it for a couple of minutes, retesting it. And something that's very important that I want to mention as well, old resistance becomes new support and old support becomes new resistance. I always love mentioning that because it's super important and not a lot of people know that or remember that. And it happens here. As you can see, we have this line as resistance, tested it, rejected, hit support, tested that resistance again, rejected it, hit support, tested that resistance once again. Here we got that full candle close above it. And now that we've finally broken this resistance now becomes support. Once the resistance is broken, it becomes support. That's why we buy on the retest of this line. When it retests it, it's retesting it as support. It wants to see it bounce off that, which is exactly what happened here. We retested this resistance, which is now support, and we saw it bounce. And anytime it comes back down to this line, we acknowledge this line as support because it used to be our older. We actually ended up breaking this, this support, coming back down to that 3.6 area, still couldn't hold it, and ended up just falling through. And just as fast as something goes up, it can come down just as fast. Another very important thing to note, that's why I never play the initial run up. Always wait for it to consolidate, breathe, have your levels ready, manage your trade, plan your trade out, know exactly what you're planning to do once you enter the trade, and manage it from there. Make sure you join the Discord, link in bio.